it is Mrs. Clark and Mrs. Collins back to give another introductory video in regards to Math in Focus. And today what we want to do is give you an overview of a couple things. The first one being the 3 different types of questions that students can expect to see on a chapter test for any of the chapters in Math in Focus. And then the second one being using those 3 different types of questions, what the progression of teaching looks like for each chapter in the classroom. And so to start, I'm going to start telling you about the 3 types of questions that every chapter test has in Math in Focus. The first one is a basic calculation question. So a basic calculation question is going to use the skills that we did, and it's going to be a very straightforward, almost fact-like question. So an example from a previous test we might have done might have looked like just 3 times 7 equals and wanting the students to give the answer to that problem. From there then, the next type of question is called a direct calculation question. And this is still wanting the answer to a similar type of problem, but they're going to ask it in a different way. So for that same type of problem, a direct calculation question might look like, what is the product when you have 3 groups of 7? So they kind of change things around. They don't use that multiplication symbol. They want students to understand product, and they're talking about groups of as opposed to saying times when they're multiplying there. And then the last type of question is the novel calculation, and this is when the students are going to have to apply their basic calculations and their direct calculations and basically apply the knowledge that they gained throughout the chapter to a new situation that they have not been directly taught in the classroom before or haven't directly practiced on, like homework or in-class work. And they are meant to be new. They're meant to maybe make the students a little uncomfortable if they're not 100% in using and applying their skills throughout the chapter. So for this type of question, in a novel calculation, it might say, Jane has 7 apples. Brittany has triple what Jane has. How many apples does Brittany have? And so the new situation here is saying the word triple to mean 3 times. And if that's meant to be something new, but the students can apply, oh, this is still a multiplication problem. I'm still looking for 3 times 7 or 3 groups of 7 and getting the answer like that. So 3 types of questions that all of the chapter tests in Math in Focus would include.
So keeping that in mind, that these are things that a fluent mathematician can do for this particular chapter, we want to gradually release our instruction from highly structured and direct to all the way to independent. So we do begin with direct instruction. The teacher would be doing a lot of modeling and a lot of examples, very teacher directed at the very beginning. But the students then get objects in their hands, they begin to wrestle with these situations and experience the math concept themselves. And we do want them to not always understand it. We want them to work through the difficulties as they will develop, their conceptual knowledge of what's going on. We won't be teaching step-by-step approaches. We're showing different approaches, different ways to solve the problem. We'll move into guided practice, where students will probably at first be partnered, and then eventually they'll be on their own working problems. The adult will switch into more of a coaching mentality of just encouraging and redirecting if there's a rough spot, but students will be working towards mastery in the classroom setting. Once a teacher feels like that has occurred, then we want to move on to independent practice, and that can happen in class, and then of course it happens with homework, and that only occurs once that stage has been reached. We will also have quizzes after independent practice days. They won't occur every day, but once mastery should have been reached, then we'll have some quizzes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so the big thing with the quizzes is meant to really get a good snapshot of what the student does have independently. And so they're very short quizzes, 5 questions, maybe up to 10 questions, something like that, depending on the concept and the way it's being asked. And then the quizzes, again, are giving us the snapshot very quickly to see what the students are able to do based on the previous day's lessons. And we'll use them to then set up our win time groups. And so we always have one win time group that is dedicated to doing math reteach. And with these quizzes, they're going to be assessments that we can quickly look at each day and see which students did have mastery and which students struggled, and specifically with what skill on that quiz. And so it will be kind of this ongoing regrouping every day of students. And so what one student might have been able to do one day, maybe the next day, lesson they struggled with, and so they'll get some reteaching with that. And so it kind of fits in very nicely with our win time and having that time to be able to address some issues that the students might have been struggling with in the classroom. So I think that is our next little overview, and hopefully we will have a chapter video up soon. Thanks.